The dull clang of iron doors echoed down the long, dimly lit corridor of Station 47, a high-security prison orbiting the gas giant, Midas 9. The cell door slid open, and a human prisoner was shoved inside. Ethan Voss stumbled forward, catching himself against the cold, unyielding wall. His ribs ached, his lip was split, and his head pounded from the force of the beating he'd received during his arrest. But none of that compared to the sharp jolt of shock that tore through his system when he saw who occupied the other side of the cell. Sitting on the lower bunk, sharpening a curved blade against a piece of metal, was the alien assassin who had tried to kill him 3 nights ago. Her name, or at least the one humans knew her by, was Kyra Zell. A tall, feline-like warrior from the planet Dravaka, her obsidian skin shimmered faintly under the dim light, the bioluminescent veins along her arms pulsing in an eerie rhythm. Her amber eyes flickered toward Ethan, unimpressed, as if she were already considering how best to kill him in the confined space. "Well," Ethan exhaled, wiping the blood from his mouth. "This is awkward." Kyra Zell said nothing. She simply continued sharpening her blade, the metallic hiss filling the silence. Ethan forced a smirk. "You're looking well. Not so great at assassination, though, are you?" Her grip on the blade tightened. "The only reason you still breathe is because I was interrupted." Ethan chuckled, despite the tension in his muscles. "Yeah, by the intergalactic enforcers. Timing's a bitch, huh?" Kyra Zell stood slowly, her movements liquid and precise. Despite the bruises on her own body, a sign that even a Dravakan assassin wasn't immune to being roughed up by the enforcers, she looked ready to pounce at any moment. "You should not mock me, human," she warned. "I have no orders to kill you now, but that could change." Ethan met her gaze with forced bravado. "Then what's stopping you?" She smirked, revealing sharp, predatory teeth. "For now? The bars." She gestured to the security camera embedded in the corner. "And them." Ethan followed her gaze. The enforcers were watching. They were always watching. Strange alliances. Days passed. Their routine was predictable: morning rations, mandatory exercise, silent hostility. At first, Ethan made it a point to stay on his side of the cell, keeping a wary eye on Kyra Zell. She, in turn, ignored him as much as possible, though he often caught her observing him with unreadable intent. One night, the tension finally cracked. A group of human prisoners had cornered Kyra Zell in the yard, their voices low and predatory. Alien prisoners were always targeted, especially ones as lethal as her. Ethan watched from a distance, telling himself it wasn't his problem. Then the first punch was thrown. Kyra Zell fought like a creature born for war, fast, brutal, efficient. But even she couldn't fend off 4 men at once. A fist connected with her ribs, another to her face. She staggered. Ethan sighed. Damn it. He rushed forward, barreling into one of the attackers. A well-placed elbow sent the man sprawling. The others turned on Ethan, giving Kyra Zell a moment to recover. She didn't waste it. In less than a minute, the fight was over. The humans lay groaning on the floor, and Ethan was panting, a fresh bruise forming on his cheek. Kyra Zell wiped a smear of blood from her lips. "Why?" she asked, her voice unreadable. Ethan exhaled. "Because as much as I'd love to see you out of my life, I hate bullies more." For the first time, Kyra Zell looked at him with something other than disdain. Trust is a slow poison. Their uneasy truce turned into something resembling camaraderie. They ate together, trained together, even exchanged stories. Ethan learned that Kyra Zell had been hired by a high-ranking corporate mogul to eliminate him. The reasons were still unclear, but he had a sinking suspicion that his past dealings, exposing corruption within the powerful Orion Syndicate, had put a bounty on his head. One night, as they lay on opposite bunks, Kyrazel broke the silence. "I do not regret failing to kill you," she admitted. Ethan turned his head toward her, surprised. That almost sounded like a compliment. She huffed. "Do not get comfortable." He chuckled, but sleep came easier that night. The escape plan. Then came the whispers. A riot was brewing. Someone had bribed the guards, weapons were being smuggled in, and soon, all hell would break loose. Ethan and Kyrazel knew they had to get out before they got caught in the crossfire. "I have contacts outside," Kyrazel murmured, sketching out a rough blueprint of the prison in the dirt. "There's an opening during the riot. A transport ship will be waiting." Ethan studied the plan. "And what? We just waltz out of here?" "Not quite." She tapped at a section of the blueprint. "We'll need to fight our way to the docking bay." He exhaled. Figures. The riot erupted 2 nights later. Prisoners turned on guards, alarms blared, the entire station shook under the weight of chaos. Amidst the frenzy, Ethan and Kyrazel moved swiftly, dodging gunfire, taking down anyone who got in their way. They reached the docking bay, but so had others. The guards were waiting, weapons raised. Kyrazel snarled. "We need cover." Ethan spotted a fallen riot shield and grabbed it, using it to deflect the incoming fire. Kyrazel moved like a shadow, slicing through the guards with precise, deadly strikes. The transport ship loomed ahead, its engines rumbling. "We're almost there," Ethan shouted, yanking Kyrazel forward. A bullet grazed his shoulder. He staggered. She caught him, hauling him up the ramp as the ship's doors slammed shut behind them. The unfinished job. As the ship blasted into hyperspace, Ethan leaned against the wall, breathing hard. Kyrazel stood beside him, watching him with something akin to amusement. "We made it," he panted. She tilted her head. "Yes. And now, we have unfinished business." He tensed. "Are you serious?" She smirked. "I was paid to kill you, boss. But now? I think there is more to gain by keeping you alive." Ethan chuckled dryly. "I'm flattered." She crossed her arms. "Your knowledge of the Orion Syndicate is valuable. And you fight well, for a human." He met her gaze. "So what now?" She considered for a moment, then extended her hand. "We work together. We take them down." Ethan looked at her hand, then up at her face. A slow grin spread across his bruised lips. "Partners, huh?" She smirked. "For now." He clasped her hand. And just like that, the assassin and the target became allies. Because sometimes, survival made the strangest of friends.